Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very special guest. I am so excited. I was on TikTok and looking for Danmei and just someone who was just as excited for Danmei as I am. And today I have a very special guest for us. Her name is Danielle. Danielle, can you go ahead and introduce us to you and who you are?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So my name is Danielle. I am not on YouTube, but I am on TikTok as at Danielle Renino. I am an author and Danmei enthusiast. I started off writing horror books, and I'm starting to branch off into the Omegaverse and really like Danmei's broadened my horizons in terms of like what goes into a story or what can be received well traditionally in terms of like traditional publications. So that's like it's just like broadened my horizons so much in terms of like what a story can be, and I'm really excited to branch into more like storytelling and romance and stuff like that, because it's not a genre that I've delved into before.
You have two books already you've written. Is your love for Danmei now the reason why you are writing your own story? Is that your inspiration?
I think that's what really kind of talking about Danmei and talking about stories really gave me the push necessary to actually move forward with publication for those types of novels. Um, I have always had an interest specifically in the Omegaverse because it pushes the boundaries of like gender and like gender roles and dynamics within a relationship. It has always interested me. And I never thought that I could write that kind of story. And I think that as I've delved deeper into not only Danmei, but BL as a whole, as like a lot of BL authors are women, and a lot of the people who consume BL media are women, and it's just not something that I was aware of before. And I was very concerned with like sticking in my own lane when it came to telling queer stories, because in my books that I have published, or at least in two of the three, I do have sapphic relationships kind of as a subplot. So I am exploring queer love and queer relationships in my stories to a certain extent. But when it came to specifically, I didn't really feel empowered to do that or explore that until I started getting into Danmei and kind of exploring the genre and the different like authors, because there are absolutely like male Danmei authors, but there are a lot of women also. And it is something that is consumed primarily by women. So I found that really fascinating. And I think that that's really what gave me the push to branch out.
Wow. I literally was very attracted to your TikTok because you are so passionate about Omegaverses as I am. And I want to explore more about what you said about Omegaverses. They break these stereotypes. Can you talk to us about what draws you mostly to Omegaverses?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So it's this idea that in Omegaverse, because there is no, first of all, it's the fact that it is a very broad concept and you have almost full creative control when it comes to building your own lore and like world building and how an Omegaverse universe functions, because there are very different types of stories all set within the Omegaverse.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of different ways to explore different themes within the Omegaverse, which were on a world building like level, like that attracted me. But then when it comes to the whole idea of like gender expressions and dynamics within relationships, and this idea of secondary gender being more important in a lot of ways than primary gender. So when I was brainstorming for my story, I had no idea what primary gender I wanted my characters to be until the very last minute, because so much of the focus is on secondary gender, that idea of like alpha, omega, beta, and sometimes enigma.
Now, now Enigma has entered the chat. Yes, yes.
I love the concept of enigma and the whole idea that like, and also the way that it functions differently, like depending on the story. This idea that like, oh, it's nature's way of like leveling the playing field because alphas are like too much of like apex predators, or like again, the lore is ever evolving in Omegaverse, which is so fun.
It is, yeah. There'll be something higher than Enigma, as time goes on.
Like in Ouroboros, like just like the snake eating its tail, like like because you already kind of had the and I know this is a little off topic, but you've already kind of had the idea of like balancing power dynamics in like alphas bitching other alphas and like creating omegas or whatever it is without the existence of an enigma that can get an alpha pregnant. So it's like there's always going to be something to it's just like this ever evolving genre. And it's also really fun to, again, put that emphasis more, especially as somebody who plays with or like has noodled on gender dynamics a lot in terms of like my everyday life and then like in my characters, specifically in my books too. Like I had a character that I wanted to be non-binary in one of my novels, and I ended up changing in later drafts. But I feel like with the Omegaverse, it's so much easier to defy the rules of gender and have it be something that is central to the story and also makes sense in universe in a way that it's harder sometimes, depending on the type of story that you're telling in other like genres, to explore characters that have different like gender dynamics and do it well. Like there are certain characters that I would have loved to explore that in my other books, and it just like there wasn't space in the story to do it correctly or do it in a way that like honors the character. And in Omegaverse, it's all about that.
Yeah, it opens a way for the characters to explore themselves and express themselves differently than any other types of genre of media, I guess.
110%. And it's like so interesting to me because like it can be deep like that, or it can just be like sexy. And like people love the idea of like mpreg. So I love the idea that there's this spectrum when it comes to Omegaverse stories where you can tell a really nuanced and really like rich story about like gender expression and dynamics, and on the other end of it, it's like get men pregnant, and they're both valid.
Now I do know that you've watched ABO Desire. Is that right?
Yes, 110%. Oh my gosh.
Can you? Well, I have watched it until episode 3. I'm in the middle of reacting to it, so my watching is a little bit slow. But tell me your thoughts about ABO. What did you think about the series?
I think that it's revolutionary that like we're getting live action.
It's crazy. It's wild.
And I can't remember the exact did you get to the heat scene yet, or the suppressant?
Not yet. But you know what? I know everything about Omegaverse, so we can discuss.
No, but like the idea that we have like an Omega going into heat in
That's
live
crazy.
action, or like the way that they show the pheromones as like these like
Yeah,
animated
literally.
things coming up off the skin. Um so interesting to watch, because I feel like before that we had Pit Babe, which kind of had Omegaverse sort of ish. And I remember
Also,
You watched Pit Babe? Did you watch it?
so I've started it. So I actually read like half of the novel. So I do know like the basic, like it's not traditional Omegaverse, and I think that when I went into the series, I was expecting Omegaverse because
yeah.
that was what a lot of people were like saying. And this is the first, like ABO Desire is really like the first true.
I think it's the traditional ABO Desire. That's what it gave us. And it succeeded. I am very excited to finish watching it, and I can't believe it. So I was really shocked when the news broke out. Oh, maybe Thailand or Japan will start with it, but it also coming from China and Chinese censorship, and they are not as producing as much as other countries. It was a really big shock for me to see.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And I think a lot of that, like I haven't dug into exactly like where they filmed it or anything, but I don't think it was filmed on the mainland, and I think that's like the only reason why. But it has been taken off of certain streaming services or certain apps, so it is being not suppressed, not suppressants for the the Omegaverse story. But I do really hope that this kind of sets a precedent, not only in like Chinese or Thai or like Japanese DL, but like maybe in the States or in the UK or like other production studios might
Think about Omega, but I feel like Omegaverses only work in the Danmei kind of world, because they have perfected the universe. I feel like, I don't know if like the British can really, or the American can really take the concept and make it cringy. In the Danmei world, it's serious. Like, it's not cringy. Like, it's reality. Like, it's taken more seriously. So I wonder how other countries would adopt this this universe, Omegaverse.
And I think that also plays into like the difference between Eastern and Western storytelling, and especially when it comes to like the BL dramas that we have coming out of Thailand or Asian countries in general, versus the way that American or Western shows are structured. And it goes back to like a lot of what I talk about on my channel is the difference between like Western romances and Danmei novels. And it's because the story structure is so different and there's so much more emphasis on the character relationships and the arcs and the development there versus external conflict. It has a lot more to do. And I think that it lends well to, like, to your point in terms of Omegaverse, it's taken more seriously because it's so intrinsic to the characters versus like, I can't see if like a Western studio tried to develop an Omegaverse, there'd be so much emphasis on like external conflict where you don't really connect with the characters as strongly, and then it just comes off as like cringe because you have no investment in these characters and it's not like treated as seriously in that regard.
Actually, that was one of my questions for you. How have you found like the biggest difference between Danmei and like other form of LGBT like writing, in terms of like the Western versus the Danmei world? Like, what has that been the biggest takeaway, like the differences between those two?
Yeah, no, I would definitely say it has a lot, like there's a lot of difference in the relationship progression, and a lot of that does have to do with censorship. But I think even without the censorship aspect, the emotional development of the relationship and this emphasis on internal versus external conflict, again, I feel like in a lot of, or even just the fact that characters being gay is part of the larger world building as a whole, and not as, there isn't as much external conflict when it comes to their sexualities, even though it does exist in some stories. Like, this is a generalization, but generally speaking, when we have a queer story in Western literature, a lot of the conflict comes from a character either not wanting to come out or admit that they have feelings for another person of the same gender, or dealing with homophobia, things like that. So there's a lot of external conflict with it. And as such, like, I feel like a lot of the story arcs can get a little bit stale. And also, like, reading about queer joy is like so difficult in a lot of ways, because in the West, a lot of stories that do get really popular have to do with like queer suffering versus queer joy. And I do think that there is like a necessity to have that, and that's an important story to tell. But there are certain, like, sometimes I just want to read like a really beautiful, like, loving
Love
queer
story.
relationship that, and not have to worry about like there being any sort of like homophobia or like conflict when it comes to like whether or not the character actually wants to come out or admit their feelings. Like, I just want to watch characters fall in love. And I feel like we get a lot more of that. And there's a lot more variety in Eastern media than Western media where that's concerned.
I definitely agree with you. I think for me, when I started watching BO dramas, one thing that drew me when I saw my first BO drama was how much joy the characters had. While if you watch Western LGBTQ movies, it's more about suffering. It's about homophobia, which is like, there is a room for that, but there is a room for even LGBT people to also have a space to fantasize, to see themselves in great stories, and just them having normal relationships. But so I think that is what makes the difference, and I definitely agree. And just the joy of seeing two people develop, and there's room for character development and also to develop together as a couple. It's so beautiful.
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh, no, to your point, like the idea that they, because that's another thing that I really love about characterization in like Eastern BL, is characters are treated as their own people, separate from the relationship, and can really hold their own and have their own arcs and their own, like, they're not just created to like be in a relationship with each other, which I think is another, and it's more not necessarily queer stories, Western stories, but just romance stories in general. I feel like people really write characters to be in a relationship, and there is nothing beyond that. And it can make the relationship feel a lot more shallow. With characters in these BLs, it's like you care about them on an individual level, and that's why you want them to get together so bad.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. I definitely agree with that. So on the topic of Danmei, how about you name us like your top three Danmei of all time? This was coming.
Like, oh geez. So I will preface this by saying these are all completely different. And not like, this is not a read it. I'm not recommending like read these back to back because they are not compatible. But Heaven Official's Blessing, Husky and His White Cat Shizen, and then I Became a God in a Horror Game.
Ah!
Let me show you something. Let me show you something. I actually have this one, Husky.
Absolutely, let's go.
I love this book. So I'm waiting for my third book to come. Wait, there is yeah. So I've read two of them, but is there? Wait, I've not ordered it yet. Is there a third book? There's a third book, right? There is.
There are 9 books out right now.
Oh, same. So I've.
You have dialed in.
I have read two of these, but I mean, I'm reading too many. Like I'm reading way too many. But yes, I really love this book. And how pretty the cover is. It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful book.
The first volume of Husky and His White Cat Shizen, that is one of my favorite Danmei covers of all time. I think that's just gorgeous. Absolutely
It's
gorgeous.
just
It's just magical. It's just magical. Why are those your top three? Like, what makes these? Because there is a lot of Danmei that are amazing. Like, oh, amazing Danmei. What makes those books stand out for you?
This is going to be rambling as heck, but I promise it'll all make sense in the end. So, Heaven Official's Blessing, the relationship between Hua Cheng and Shay Lian, that the unwavering devotion, the just how enamored they are with each other. It was my first Danmei, and it's the whole reason why I started reading the genre to begin with. So I first watched the Donghua, so I saw like the first 2 seasons of that, and then I rewatched it, and I found out it was based on a book series, and I was like, okay, I need to know what happens next because I'm so connected to this couple, and so invested in their relationship.
they're
And
really
then
beautiful, yeah.
and it's also like on a like deeper, like Heaven Official's Blessing means so much to me because prior to that I had gotten into the most intense reading slump of my life, and I had only been reading fan fiction for like a year and a half. I had a lot of things going on in like my publishing journey, so like I was signed with a literary agent, went out to editors at publishing houses and stuff. None of my books sold, and then I indie published, like all this stuff, and I was just feeling completely burnt out. I couldn't read a book and enjoy it.
Oh,
At that point, so I was just reading fan fiction, and then I picked up Heaven Official's Blessing, and I read all 8 books in like a week. So it got me back into reading and introduced me to Danmei, and has one of my favorite couples of all time. And I
they're
don't
really
usually do.
beautiful.
I love them so much. I've only watched the series, but I've I read the oh, I don't have it here, but I have the novel. But I've watched the series. Honestly, their relationships, like their love is just yeah.
I'm going to be articulate about. I can't be articulate about it either. It's like there are no words; they're just hand gestures.
One of my friends, she appears on my channel sometimes. She has a whole wall just for full of posters. She's very big into it. Honestly, their relationship is honestly it's one in a million. We all want someone to wait for that long for us, and just it, it was a beautiful relationship. So I totally understand. I totally understand. I can't wait for the next installment. Like, is it a series or movie? I don't know.
So they did do like a short film.
Yeah.
It's like maybe 10 minutes, like it's short. That is not a film.
Yeah, I know that. I actually reacted to that on this channel. Yes. Go
And I
on.
don't know, but I don't know if there's going to be a season 3 or like what that looks like at this point. I have no idea. Like, I'm not really like caught up on the news of it. And at this point, I've not like given up, but I'm like, it's been so long.
So long, but we'll wait. We'll wait. It's a beautiful story that really needs to be told. So okay. So what is the second one? What's the other book?
Oh no, Husky and his White Cat Shizen.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Completely different from Heaven Official's Blessing. The reason why I love Husky and his White Cat Shizen, I am actually a dark romance human at heart. Like I started out before I was reading Danmei, I would read darker, like MF, like dark romance and erotica stories. So that is what I am very like. I know that stuff. And that's what I'm comfortable with. And I think that Husky and his White Cat Shizen, because it is so dark, because it is a very, very dark story and there is a lot of stuff going on there.
Hello.
But the main thing that jumps out to me outside of the fact that like, okay, it's dark romance, it's more on par with what I read outside of Danmei, is the character development and the redemption arc for Moran is some of the best that I've read or experienced in media, like in general. The relationship between him and Shu Wanning is also like legendary status for me, but for different reasons than like Hua Chung and Shay Lian's relationship from Heaven
Yeah, it's
Official's
totally
Blessing.
different. Yeah.
And like the development of it over time, and also just the darker aspects of the story in Husky and his White Cat Shizen. I really enjoy the psychological aspect and the way that things are kind of it hurts. It hurts a lot. Like it's a very angsty series. It's I can't describe. Again, there are no words. They're just hand gestures. So like very, very different than Heaven Official's Blessing. In terms of the relationship dynamics and the plot progression, but the story itself is just like so exciting to me. And I have not read any fan translations or anything. I'm reading them as they release. So we have 2 volumes left, and I'm really, really scared, nervous, excited, like screaming over like how is this going to end? And we'll see how that goes. But as of right now, it's like top 3 for me.
Now, what I'm reading is painful right now. So I am happy to hear that there's a redemption arc and things are gonna get better. So I'll keep on reading.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm gonna warn you right now, like it is gonna be pain up until the last possible minute because Moran has this amazing redemption arc, and then outside forces come in. It's a rough ride, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it.
Do you know what though? That is what makes Danmei so interesting. Like you will be so invested in these stories because of how beautiful it is. Like recently, I have finished Imperial. Okay, Imperial Alcohol is so long and it's like you suffer the whole way through. I have suffered so long. I've watched it. It's like it's so many. I can't even pronounce like how many like how long it is. And it was extremely painful. And then right at the end, they give us the goods. And I think in the world where like social media is there, fast things are fast, but the way Danmei still gets your attention is amazing. It's incredible because like right now we have short attention span, but Danmei will ground you and you will concentrate and you will read those 9 books.
No, and to your point, like I am not the kind of person that can sit and read like a 12-book series unless it's Danmei. Like in that case, I'm like, where's the rest of it? Give me like 25 of them, please. I could take some more side stories. Give me some more side stories.
More. Yeah, even after I've read that much, I'm like, I can't believe the writer didn't give us just one more chapter. Just okay, so the next one, the last one.
This one, I almost didn't say it, and I'm like, you know what? No, I am invested because I haven't finished it yet. It is ridiculously long, and it's a fan translation. It's the only fan translation that I've like read so far for Danmei. But I became a god in a horror game, so I am only like 100 chapters, only 100 chapters in. But and it's also like the slowest of all slow burns. It's like unlit candle in an empty room. You forget that it's a romance a lot of the time, but I feel like it's very indicative of, or on brand, I should say, for other unlimited flow danmei. So like in unlimited flow danmei, it's very like you said, like to your point, like there are video game elements, and it has like a horror thriller kind of component. And in I Became a God in a Horror Game, he's essentially sucked into this game, but it divides time between the real world and the game. So he has to play a certain number of games within a certain number of days or whatever to avoid getting 86. So he's like clearing these like mini game levels, and interacting with other characters. And the love interest, which again, only 100 chapters into it. Something that I really enjoy about it though is with all of these kind of mini realities, I feel like it gives a really good like vehicle to get to know the characters because you see how they react to these completely different situations. So like the first game that he plays is this like seaside town with these like killer mermaids. And then right now, I'm just finishing up the arc where he is like a wealthy investor investing in this like orphanage, and they're doing like these horrible weird experiments on like the kids there, but it's very different, like each like mini game, each reality that he's sucked into, and it really kind of gives dimension to the character that way. And something that I find really interesting is, again, like the love interest, he's only interacted with him maybe 3 times total at this point. Like it is slow. But I'm so interested to see where it goes. And like I've talked to about it, or who's come into my comments talking about it, says that the romance is everything, but it doesn't get started until like chapter 200 and something. So like insane.
That's crazy.
But I'm so into it so far. And like I think it goes back to the fact that like I am horror and thriller inclined. So like, and also like the video game aspect is so exciting to me. So like it's just like this different like backdrop for a Danmei story is so exciting. And I really hope that it continues to like impress me.
Have you actually met, like, did they tell you that's the love interest, or is it more of like you have to kind of search which one is the love interest? Is it clear from the beginning?
So yes and no. I think that there are like enough hints given that like this is the guy, but I think at first, especially in the first like arc completely, because he doesn't meet the love interest until the end of the first arc, and then they interact, and they every time he pops up, like that's the thing, is like he's only popped up like 3 times, but every time they interact, it's like, okay, like this is the guy.
Evident. Oh, something is gonna happen here. That's good. That's good. And in terms of right now, what are some Danmeis you're reading in terms of like recently? What has been on your recent reading list?
I'm on volume 2 of The Earth is Online, which is another unlimited flow danmei, and it's about these like pyramid type devices that show up in the sky one day and then like transport everybody into a series of mini games. So it's another one of those like I'm really eating up unlimited flow right now. So I've got that. I actually just got a shipment notification from Yiggy Bean that I have 2 more unlimited flow danmeis coming. So I have Kaleidoscope of Death and I think it's The Defectives. I can't remember the title off the top of my head, but I have 2 of those coming. And then I also have Copper Coins on my reading list, which I wasn't going to read at first, but then everybody was giving reviews for it and really enjoyed it. So I'm like, you know what? I haven't read the description for it. It has a bald, like one of the characters is a monk, so he's bald. So there was a lot of like, it's like him, and there's a dragon character. I don't know if the dragon is the love interest or just like another character, but it's one of those like historical fantasy danmeis. Cultivation, maybe. I'm just making stuff up at this point. But that's what I do. A lot of danmei that I read, I go into completely blind.
Just go on novel updates and I just go on the comments. If the comments are like, okay, this is great, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just read it. I also avoid the description. I rarely know what the description is about as well. So I understand you. If it's good, I'll just read.
If you are reading like meat buns books at all, like huskiness by Keshizen, probably something that if you know you have triggers or things that you're uncomfortable with, don't go in blind for that one. But like for me, I'm not really bothered by much, so I'm like, if I read it and I don't like it, then it's whatever. It's not like
It is
it's
what it
very
is.
low investment for me.
My channel is mostly about dramas, but I do love Danmei, and I haven't made much content about Danmei as of recent, but I want to go back. If someone is watching this and it's their first time ever hearing about Danmei, what is that one book you would say go and read as your first time Danmei reader right now?
So I would actually pose a question back. I would say, what is it that you are excited about in a queer romance? Like, what is your ideal dynamic? What is your ideal setting? And that's going to give an indication of what book they should read. I feel like a lot of people recommend MXTX's work, so Heaven Official's Blessing, Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, or Scumvillain's Self-Saving System as starter Danmei, which absolutely valid. I would also say, but I do think that the barrier to entry for some of those books is higher because there are so many like courtesy names, and if you're not used to the type of world building in those novels, like the reading comprehension that you need to really get what's going on is a lot higher with those books. So it really depends on what you are interested in personally. Like if you love like a good transmigration story, and like, you know, master disciple, like, you know, teacher student kind of relationship, I would say Scumvillain Self-Saving System 110%. Yeah, but it depends on the dynamic, and that's why I think, like, you know, looking out for creators who have read a lot and know a lot about the genre. When you're first doing research into like what book to pick up, like they're not going to steer you wrong. Like definitely like seek out other like creators or folks that are talking about it and get recommendations from the fan base.
Are one of those people that people can follow, and you make regular Danmei content. That's right? Correct.
Oh my gosh, yes, 110%.
Right at the end, we'll talk about your social media and stuff. But okay, so in terms globally, how do you see BL or Danmei helping the queer representation globally?
But kind of what we were talking about before, having these light, and there are a lot of stories that are darker. I'm not trying to like make a generalization, but like just like the joy, like queer joy, like stories about queer relationships that are less censored on like, you know, conflicts involving homophobia or things like that, and just being able to like enjoy the relationship progression in a queer story. I think that that's really, really important is like having that in the media. And not only for other queer folks, but for people who maybe aren't exposed to queer relationships on the daily and are able to kind of like experience the fact that like, okay, it's like, you know, it's just like a straight love story. You know what I mean? Like it's important to, I guess, put those relationships at the forefront for everybody involved.
With you, I agree. Now let's talk about your book, because you have something very special you are cooking. So please tell us the title and please tell us what it's about.
Okay, awesome. Yes. So hang on, I need chapstick. Okay.
Okay, this is exciting. I'm excited. Okay, but okay, go ahead.
So I don't have links up for it yet, so I definitely recommend like follow me on TikTok, or I'm also on Instagram if you do want more information as it comes out. But the story that I'm writing right now is an arranged marriage Omegaverse novel. It is Grumpy.
I'm so excited. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I also am excited.
That is, you know, that is my favorite genre. Out of all the genres, Omegaverse arranged marriage, literally, you got me. You got me. Go ahead.
Arranged marriage, Omegaverse, Grumpy Sunshine dynamic. It is Alpha Omega MM. The basic premise is that, and it's so basic, but I like to think that I'm exploring some like some fun dynamics within the like basicness of the plot. But basically it's basic. And Omega, their family is in debt, makes a business deal with the Alpha's family, sells him off into this marriage, and the Omega is fully prepared to get violated, be in this unhappy marriage. Like, he is ready to rock the Alpha's shit when they make it to the like wedding chamber. He's like, I'm gonna go down fighting. And then they end up, like, there was a big miscommunication with it. The Alpha is not what he expected him to be, and they both decide that they are going to work together to take down their families. And yeah. And what starts as kind of like a partnership blossoms into love as they scheme and try to like navigate like the political climate between like their parents' companies. And it's called Not Your Husband. Like,
Not your husband.
Not Your Husband, like KNOT, like a not pun.
And what is your author name? What is your name?
It's Talon Hart. So it's my
Talon.
first book that I am writing under a pen name. So yeah, that's really exciting in and of itself. But it's going to be like kind of the first in a series, I hope, of Omegaverse novels that I publish under the name Talon Hart.
I am so excited. I do know that you've already published 2 other books already. Is that correct?
So 3 actually. But I only really talk
books.
about, yeah, but yeah.
And so this is not your first time. This is not your first rodeo where, you know, it's something that you are actually passionate about. Writing stories is your passion.
110%. And it's very different from what I've done before, thus the pen name. So I can kind of like separate them out from each other, but yeah.
Can you briefly talk about the other books that you've written?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, very, very different than Omegaverse smut. So one of my books is, I actually have 2 young adult horror novels. One of them is a young adult horror kind of sci-fi book called Whispers the Blood. And it's about a girl who hears her voice inside the wall of an abandoned Victorian mansion. And then what it says leaves her questioning who and what she is. It has like Frankenstein vibes. It's very concerned with like identity, found family vibe, like dynamics. The main character has anxiety, so it's a lot of like mental health stuff, but it's like a gothic horror. It's a gothic horror story with a sci-fi twist. So that is one. How It Haunts Us, my other young adult horror novel, is inspired by The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. And that one's my sapphic novel where it's 2 girls go to an abandoned, notice a theme, all my books have abandoned buildings in them.
Very not similar to what you are writing right now.
100%. But basically they go to this abandoned asylum as part of a documentary crew to try to like find ghosts, but they both have ulterior like reasons for going. Like one of the main characters is haunted by her mother, like the ghost of her mother, and she's looking to feed her to the hospital essentially. But that one's really special to me because I do a lot of urban exploration and like urbex photography. So every room in that book is a room that I've photographed or have gone into in abandoned buildings before.
Wow, that's scary.
And then my other one that I don't talk about a lot because I have mixed feelings about it, but it's called Eviscerate, and it's a new adult slasher novel, and it's essentially like Saw with less gore and more millennial panic, where all the characters are friends online, like part of a Discord group, and they meet in person for the first time to try to unravel the disappearance of a like influencer who went missing the year prior, but they all have like connections to him, and they all get caught up in these Saw like traps and games inside the the water park. So
So I'm going to link all your books down below.
Can they find it on Amazon? Are they available? Where can they buy it?
Amazon, they're on bookshop.org, basically any like major retailers when it comes to the ebook. Eviscerate's the only one without an ebook, and then the ebook for Whispers is only available through Amazon, and then the ebook for How It Haunts Us is available on all platforms. But as far as the paperbacks, like you can find them anywhere.
And is there a timeline, or like when can we expect this book to be released? Is there a rough estimate?
So wintertime, definitely. I haven't set an exact date because I am trying to be a little bit more, I guess, like forgiving with myself in terms of like publication timelines, but anywhere between like December and February, depending on like when I get the cover done and editing and all of that stuff. But definitely before the springtime, like anytime between December and February tentatively, and I'll be making announcements as I go when we get closer.
And in terms of what, can you tell us your social media names and where we can find you?
Yep. So it is at Danielle Renino. So DanielleRenino. And I am on primarily on TikTok. I post every single day on there, mostly about Danmei. I am also on Instagram. That is more for like book updates and promotion. But I am more than happy to be friends with you on there as well. And those are like the major platforms that I'm on.
Thank you so much. And just to close us off, two questions left. First question is, what's the best advice that you would love to leave with our viewers? What is some words of wisdom you'd like to give to our viewers?
Yeah, do what makes you happy. I think that there are too many people that are too concerned, especially when it comes to folks that are reading or watching DL and concerned about how others are going to like think about like whatever floats your boat. Like as long as you are not hurting anybody else, you do what makes you happy, and you will find the most joy, I think, in being your authentic self.
With you. I agree. That is such beautiful advice. And the last one, what is your hottest BL tech or Danmei tech that might get you into trouble?
I don't know if it'd get me into trouble, but I do think that darker stories need to be gatekept more than they are. And there are certain people who should not be reading dark Danmei or like interacting with dark BL if that is not something that they are interested in. I think there's a lot of virtue signaling where folks will say like, oh, I don't like that, or like be very, very vocal about how they don't agree with a relationship dynamic as a way of trying to make themselves look like a good person. And there isn't enough like separation between like fiction and reality. Like if you enjoy something dark, it is not like an indication of your moral compass. And I think that there's a certain maturity that has to go along with reading darker BL stories or watching darker BL series.
To realize it's fiction, it's not reality. That separation should be made.
Yep. But I do think that like the popularization, oh my gosh, pronouncing words, but making some of these series have gotten really popular over like TikTok and YouTube and stuff, and I don't think that we should be recommending these to everybody. I don't think they should be talked about like
everything is for everybody, because some people will end up saying that the story is not good, or that like just lashing out at the writer, but it's not meant for you. It's not meant for everybody. Thank you so much, Danielle. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Oh, this has been so much fun. Thank you for having me on and chatting with me about this stuff.
When you release your book, you could come back again and talk to us about it. Maybe that would be great.
No, 100. Yes, I'm 110% gonna hold you to that. Let's do it.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me on my channel. I appreciate you so much.